In case you didn't know, aside from audio engineering and music production and all that fun stuff, I've actually also been doing voice acting for almost 10 years now. Now, I didn't start taking it super seriously until recently, but it's definitely something that I have learned to do over time, and I've also directed a lot of voiceover talents over the years. If you've seen this ad on YouTube,
let's be honest, the rent-a-car industry is the definition of boring.
Then you've already heard my voice. And if that's annoying and you try to skip me all the time, I apologize. But in any case, you can say that I've learned a good amount over the years about voice acting. And these 5 mistakes are the most common mistakes I see with beginner voiceover talents. So let's break them down. Number 1 is extremely common, and I'm guilty of this myself when I first started. I remember my first gig, this was the advice that I got.
Slow down.
And I get it, you're nervous. It's probably your first few times recording. You think you gotta get through the script. You've heard a bunch of other super talented voice actors flawlessly fly through a script, but that's not you yet. And what's important is pronunciation, enunciation, all that fun stuff. You gotta make sure that people can actually understand what you're saying and can hear the emotion behind your voice when you are speaking. The first time I actually heard this advice was when I landed my first real gig. It was narration for a documentary series called Drug Wars that was on a channel called Fusion. And within about a minute and a half of the first recording session, the producer, Keith, this guy who's like super legit, used to work at CNN with Anderson Cooper and all these people, he stopped me and he's just like, all right, I could tell you're new to this. I'm gonna give you the best piece of advice you're gonna hear. Slow down. And it should almost feel like you're going slower than you think you have to go, but you'd be surprised how wonky time gets when you have a lot of adrenaline pumping through you. So slow down. Mistake number 2 you're probably making is not reading enough out loud. Maybe you're just waiting for stuff to cast for or audition, or you're waiting for a gig to actually start practicing, but you need to be practicing constantly. It doesn't matter what it is. Read books, read the back of shampoo bottles. How would a voice actor read that? Try it in different ways. It's super important to get used to reading out loud, because that's what's gonna make the difference when you're on the spot and you're getting a script and maybe you're seeing it for the very first time and you're gonna have to be quick to actually, pick up on all the different inflections and punctuations and delivery and all that stuff. And you can't ever figure that out unless you've been practicing and practicing and practicing. Books are awesome, but yeah, practice a lot. You're probably not doing this enough. So mistake number 3 you're probably making is apologizing when you mess up during a recording session. Obviously this applies to talents that are already kind of getting gigs or auditions. Do not apologize when you mess up. Everybody in the room already knows you messed up, and everybody knows it's okay. It happens. I've seen some really legit pros flub a line and they'll just immediately hop back into it, take it from the top. Personally, when I mess up, I like to give a finger snap because I'm an audio engineer and I know that audio engineers are going to appreciate a visual cue where they can see on the waveform, okay, he messed up. He started over from here. And so whenever I mess up, I don't say, oh man, I'm so sorry, I butchered that word or that line or whatever, or my voice cracked. No, boom, and I start from that line again. Trust the fact that the editors can, do some magic and just take it from that line that you messed up on. You'll be fine. The reason this is a mistake is because every time you do it, you're wasting time, but more importantly than that, you're beating yourself up over a very common mistake to make. And I've done this before. When I first started, I would constantly apologize and I would get in my own head and get worse and worse and worse and start making more and more mistakes because I'm like, oh no, I messed up. And then I'm like in my head and like I'm thinking that they think that I suck, and it just turns into a disaster. So don't apologize. Just keep going. Try again. Mistake number 4 you might be making if you are a very beginner, and I see this a lot with really, really beginner people, or people that haven't even done anything, but they want to get into voice acting. The biggest mistake I see them make is that they copy another actor's or voice actor's style. Meaning, if I think I have a really great Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, like everyone does, they think that qualifies them to become a voice actor, and they think, oh man, I'm gonna get so much work. I can do all these accents and impressions. And the reality is that that's only really good for making impressions. Like if you're doing stuff on TikTok or you specifically are looking for gigs where you're trying to do impressions, you're not going to get a lot of work, because if a client wants that specific actor, they're probably going to go for that actor. They don't want somebody who just kind of sounds like them. So the biggest mistake is that people don't develop their own voice. And now you're probably asking, well, how do I develop my own voice? That sounds so hard to do. Well, you already have developed your own speaking voice. You did it your whole life. My speaking voice is the one you're hearing right now. When I go into voiceover mode, I change my voice a little bit, but it's playing on the qualities of my vocal tone that I have and my cadence and delivery. And I really just record myself a lot and listen back, and I try to think, okay, well, what's lacking? What do I need to punch up? What makes my voice unique? Find out what that is, focus on that, make your own voice your own voice. And the better you get as a voice actor, the more you will stand out as unique. Don't try to do what everyone else is doing, because there's already hundreds of people doing that. What can you bring to the table? Think about that and focus on that. Number 5 is probably the biggest mistake beginners make, and it's probably the most important. And it's a tricky one because it involves spending money, and that means that you have to invest in decent quality. And I get it. Sometimes people hear this and they immediately think like, oh, that's it. I can't afford it. Like maybe you don't have like a disposable income like that to really get into it. But if you want to be taken seriously as a voice actor when you're doing castings, auditions, you need to have a decent quality mic, and you need to do what you can to make your room a recording space. Don't record this next to the washing machine. Don't record this in a big open space with a bunch of echo and reverb. Try to find, a closet, get some blankets, do whatever you need to do to up the quality of your recordings. You don't have to spend a ton of money. There's a lot of great beginner mics that range between $100 and $200, and I know that's, still a lot for some people, but save up, take it seriously. Don't really dive in before you have a decent mic. I can't stress this enough. When I was a casting director in the past, unfortunately, when I would get auditions that just sounded like crap and it sounded like they were just recorded on an iPhone outside with traffic and everything in the background, I would have to just toss it. It would never even get to the client, because the client is expecting a certain level of quality from who they've hired to do the audition process. And it's their job to filter out things that are going to waste the client's time. So unless you have something really, really unique and amazing and they don't care about the quality, odds are 99% of the time you're going to have decent quality, at least presentable. Make it so that it sounds as close to a studio recording as you can. Whether that means, like I said, closet, blanket, whatever. Do what you got to do. It's important. So those are 5 beginner mistakes that I recommend you highly focus on, work on them, and you will definitely see an improvement in your early voiceover career. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and like it, subscribe it, all that fun stuff. I do all sorts of content on this channel, not just voice acting stuff, sound stuff, audio engineering, and I'll probably be doing some videos that have more to do with voice acting here. So do the thing that makes me comment or subscribe. Just do it. All right, bye.